I kind of hate to call them rules because they're more like guidelines, you know, of it's options. I'm kind of showing you the options, sort of and then when you're going to play any finger picking song, you don't need to do what you did the last time you played it. It's like, so I call this kind of generic finger picking. It could go lots of different ways. Every time you play it, it doesn't matter where you pinch or stuff like that, you know. So we do talk about patterns, just like in strumming. We talk about patterns with the goal being to never think about pattern, never even call something a pattern anymore. um,
Okay.
so okay, so
Huh.
so if I so now just going into the same pattern, which I just said there's no such thing as patterns, is what I just said, right? But okay, so I'm either going to pinch the second string or the first string,
Huh.
and I want to get every string played somewhere in there. Okay,
Okay.
so I might do this. I went from 1 to 2 to 3 in the
Okay.
exact same rhythm that we've just been doing.
Okay.
Okay, I might do something that I would say is not very good. I might go this to this to this. Okay,
Okay.
or I could start in the middle and go higher and then lower, or lower then higher. Okay, so see, just by changing the order of the notes, you almost don't even realize it was rhythmically all the same thing. You know, because when you heard the highest note was in different spots.
Right.
You know, so so
Would you want to do that within the same song, though?
sure,
You mean like each verse could be different? I
every
mean,
measure could be different.
okay, that's a lot to think about at this point for me.
Well, yeah. So for a while, this is going to have to be really conscious, where you think, okay, I gotta do this. But you could see a second ago, you know, I got you to do this, and it was like no big deal. And then when I said, well, switch it to this note as the pinch, it's like, okay, well, that's no big deal either, you
No.
know. So now, so generally, you have maybe one distinctive thing in a pattern, like a pinch,
Uh-huh.
and then you just fill in the ands after that with the other notes,
Okay.
you know. And so again on this C chord here, one more thing, and that is anytime you're doing a pinch, it could be more than one string. I mean, you could play. Oh, that's a minute ago. I just played that. I grabbed every chord on the first beat. Well, if I play everything together on the first beat, I've now really met my goal. You've just heard every note in the chord.
Uh-huh.
So after that, I could even play the same note a couple of times. You know, I played the second string there twice. You know, generally you wouldn't play the same finger twice in a row because that's you know, that sounds better. Like, see, so what I'm doing there is pinching the whole chord, all three fingers on one, then just following it with this and this. Or I could reverse the order of these. Or I could bring this one in again later.
Okay.
Okay, but
Yeah.
see, so the pinching a note usually happens on either beat 1 or beat 2. I'll get to beat 2 in just a second.
Okay.
And then otherwise you just throw in a couple of notes on ands, you
Huh.
know, in between the other ones.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So here's what it sounds like on oh wait, let me back up. No, let me talk about pinching on 2. Because this is a great pattern. And what you would do is you'd hit the first bass note alone and then grab the whole chord on beat 2. And now, usually you're not going to follow that big pinch with another finger. You want those notes to keep ringing. So I really only have, I'm going to wait like another beat before I even put something in on the and. So I brought in one finger after 3. And if I ran through a whole chord progression like that,
Dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. Now,
What is that song?
that's don't think twice.
Yeah, don't, yeah, yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
okay.
There's another song.
Yeah.
There's
Um,
another song.
yeah. Okay, so if I was going to play Don't Think Twice, which I'll do in just a minute, I would just mix and match all kinds of patterns. And I would probably start with something like that where I play the first bass. The whole thing with grabbing the chord on beat 2 means you don't have to have any of the rest of the chord down on beat 1 except the bass note.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? So but if I tried to do that whole thing now I'll do pinches on beat 1. I'll just run through that with a pinch on 1. I'll just make it one string. And then I'll put in a couple of, so I'll have the other place the fingers on the and of 2 and the and of 3, something again like this. And if I just did it in that same order for every chord, that sounds fine.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
I got another song. Yay.
well, now I'm going to vary it. I'm going to keep that exact same rhythm.
Okay.
Just everything I just did there. Pinch on 1 and then 2 and 3 and, right? But now I'm going to change which string I hit on 1 sometimes. I won't always start with the first string. Sometimes I'll start with the second string.
Okay.
It'll sound even more varied. That doesn't sound like a pattern.
No, it does not.
You know,
it sounds like you really know what you're doing.
Okay,
Yeah,
those were all the exact same pattern with just my variables of which string do I pinch on 1. And then I make sure to play the other 2 strings in the ands so that you heard the whole chord in there.
Gosh, it seems like you need to kind of lay all this out first.
Well,
and get it down the different ways of doing it, and then you can mix and match.
Yeah. So there really aren't that many. Well, I mean, if I decide I'm going to pinch the first string, then my choices are what order am I going to play the other 2 notes in? I'm either going to go this, or this. It's like, you know, and if I do my pinch with the second finger, I'm either going to follow it with this or this, and then I'm going to use the other one.
Right. So yeah,
Okay.
you think there might be a half a dozen or so is what you're saying.
Yeah. And really, you probably don't have to be real conscious of each one. In other words, it's like just like even right there, all I tried to do was vary whether I did the pinch on the first or the second string, and I kind of just tried to alternate it from measure to measure. You know, I'd start with this one time, this one the next time, but then I still have the option of what am I going to do after it? Am I going to go higher or lower, or you know what? And even when I just did it the same order every time. Okay, see, now you can hear the pattern to that. I'm always going from high to low in the melody. That's you know. Okay, so now what else I could have done in there was, well, to kind of tie it up to something I said a minute ago.
Yeah.
I could have grabbed the whole chord every time. I could have done a big pinch where I'm playing all 3 fingers.
Right.
And then I'm just going to play a couple of random strings afterwards. And it could be any one of the 3 could be the next finger. So there, I went from the first to the second after the pinch. But again, everything I've been playing for the last few minutes has been the exact same rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
Now listen to this.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like to put pinches on the second beat.
Oh, the only thing you did was to put the pinch on the second beat and did everything else the same?
Yep.
I mean, you may have varied
Yes, I varied the order of the fingers that followed it.
Right.
Let me do that again, because I didn't do it in the first measure. I wanted you to hear one measure that had the pinch on 1, and then I started doing that in the second measure. I'll do that same thing. So here's the first measure I want to pinch on 1.
Okay.